I just cannot leave it alone. Knowing how to use Xactimate in the context of a claim makes you fast, right? Knowing how to do at a glance, look at that and say, this is how I'm going to repair it. You write your estimate in a minute, right? For a lot of things, right? You can move through an estimate pretty quickly. You can talk to the homeowner intelligently, right? You can say, well, this is what's going to happen. This is what the guy's going to do. Here's how I'm going to write the estimate. If you find anything else, call me, let me know. When you're talking to the contractor or the PA, they can't get one over on you because you know what the repair is or the replace or whatever it is for that that particular process.
That's a common misconception that people have, but it's not so much a fault of anybody's, because that is the way it seems that way from an outsider's perspective. Get level 3 certified. It's the highest certification level. What do you mean that I'm not going to be at the
I'm
same
only
level?
halfway there.
Right. So we tackle that.
This is AdjusterTV.
AdjusterTV is brought to you by Pacesetter Claims Service. Learn more at adjustertv.com/Pacesetter and by E&O provider Kaplik. Download the free Insurance for Adjusters guide at cplic.net/AdjusterTV. Hey, what's up? Matt here with AdjusterTV, and for the best tips and tools for getting on the first call list as an independent adjuster, won't you subscribe to my channel? I'm here with Jeremy Redig from Adjuster University, and he's got something brand spanking new that has just recently launched, and we want to get all the details on it for property adjusters. So, Jeremy, how's it going, man?
Matt, what's up, brother? It's been a while since I dropped on here. I've got the whole new podcast set up. Last time I've watched the video a couple times from the last time we did the show, and I can't stand looking at my office in the background. I don't think I had a haircut. I didn't have a haircut for weeks. It was the worst, I think I was running a lot of claims back then too. So I was haggard. Man. No, I think you looked fine. I mean, I'm used to looking at adjusters that are, running and gunning. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for telling me I looked about average. I'll take average.
Right on. So tell me what you've been up to since the last time we talked. I mean, what's going on with Adjuster University? Are you still like running claims right now?
So, I mean, yes and no. Truthfully, did I completely stop taking claims? No, I'm still greedy. I'm not taking small, what I used to call my bread and butter, those little $1,000, $2,500 claims. I'm not taking those really anymore. I'm still keeping my doors open for, I do some appraisal work now. Okay. And a large loss here and there. I'll put in. I'm not quite at that point where I'm ready to completely walk away, but man, I got one foot out the door right now, and I'm just waiting to walk. It's been especially the last few weeks. As you know, I think I've spoke about it with you in the past. I started my training company, Adjuster University, at this point about 5-6 years ago, whenever it was. I think 6 years ago this year. It
was about 1 year before I did.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. And I started it, and the whole purpose of why I started the whole training company was because I knew, for me, I was lucky to find independent adjusting. Most people, at least at that time when I first got started, most people only knew about it because usually they had a family member or a close friend that was into it, and that's how they were exposed to it. It was much rarer for just some regular Joe just to kind of stumble on it.
Right.
Particularly if you've never had even any sort of a interaction with an adjuster, like you had an adjuster come to your house and you sparked up a conversation and you discovered it that way. So I found that I was very lucky, and given my background, not performing well in school and, being dyslexic and just, loving to go out and party and just feeling overall down on myself about everything, I somehow managed to get pretty good at this thing. And so knowing those factors, I thought, well, I need to get other people involved in doing this. I need to tell more people about this little niche and tell them that it's possible. You can create a great career and create a great little business for yourself as an independent insurance adjuster, as a freelance insurance adjuster. So after ripping my hair out a few times training people in real life, I found myself creating a little blog where I've just kind of, I don't want to say advocated for it, but I just rose awareness for independent adjusting. And that slowly transformed into a training company. And so you would think that now that I created a training company, I would go ahead and start just training people from the very beginning into becoming, full-fledged field property adjusters just like me. But I didn't do that. It ended up being a lot more complicated than just a couple online classes. So I went in other directions and I sold courses and for other things, primarily, completely just for people that were already adjusters. And so that's what I've been doing. And, as of last year, we found a lot of success with our XACTIMATE training, which I always thought it always drove me nuts and we spoke about the certification levels that in our industry, your XACTIMATE skill is only graded based on Xactware's certification levels, level 1, 2, and 3. But meanwhile, I know that even if you're XACTIMATE level 3, as an employer, as an independent adjusting company, if you're level 3 certified, then I do have some confidence that you understand the program, that you've used it, that you're not completely green. But I know from the position that I'm in, and I'm sure this is shared with all the adjusting companies, that doesn't necessarily mean you're great at it. It just means you understand it enough to pass a moderate difficulty exam. That's it. So I wanted to put together something that not only got you there, but then also taught you scope, training, all that sort of stuff. And, we did that. And that had single-handedly more success than anything else that we had at that point. So the next thing on the horizon was finally going back to square one and just getting we had the software already done. And we had prior to that, a lot of sales and marketing training for, new independent adjusters. There was just that one missing piece, something to wrap everything all together and put a bow on it. And so that's for the last couple months, that's really what the focus has been. And damn, this has been, I have not had this much stress on me since probably, I don't know, man, Cat 2013 or 12 or something like that. It's been it's been a rough road, man, but we're there and it's fantastic training. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I often tell people that running AdjusterTV is like having 5 full-time jobs. There's always, it's kind of like running claims a little bit. There's always something to do and all the things are like super important to do. So kind of give me a little bit more of like, the overview of the new training that you've got coming out there, the 90-day accelerator program, from not knowing to knowing it all.
Man, so I'll tell you this, the original idea was 12 months. I had this idea that we were going to do, because ultimately who are we looking for? We're looking for people that sick of their job, want to quit. They're not getting paid enough. They're not valued enough. And they want to start fresh, right? So odds are they don't have a bunch of money. So the original idea was to do a 12-month program and just every week give you a little bit until the very end. So we kind of, what would be a pretty expensive course up front, we kind of spread it out over a year. But but that presented its own money issues to do. And
Sure.
And who the hell wants to do school for a year anyway? So
Right.
we condensed it down, and it's an accelerator program. I mean, if you're, not familiar with an accelerator program, man, it's to freaking push you to get you there. And it's jam packed, and it's the thing about it. What I wanted it to be was as much hand holding as possible. So it's set up where every week you have assignments for that week. And we spent a ton amount of time really analyzing every single week, because not every assignment is equate to the same level of time. For instance, licensing, right? Licensing, realistically, if you are super smart, you can maybe get that done in a week, but you need to be super smart and not have a full-time job, because if it's Florida or Texas, you have a 40-day pre-licensing requirement. That's 40-hour pre-licensing requirements. So that's 40 hours gone right there.
Want to work from home? I thought that might get your attention. I'll cut to the chase here and tell you that the IA firm Pacesetter Claim Service frequently has work from home opportunities for the field and also for desk work, which, let's be honest, really just means work at home in your PJs. Still want to work in the field though? Pacesetter's Evo platform is fully integrated with Hover. It is the best of the app-based claims handling systems out there right now. Technology is moving faster than ever, and Pacesetter is right there at the cutting edge. We put together a free guide to maximizing your productivity while working at home in your pajamas, along with a link to apply to this dynamic firm, and you can find both at AdjusterTV.com/Pacesetter.
So we spent a lot of time looking at how we can schedule this thing out and make it so that, if one week's heavy, we go a little lighter on the next one. But every single week, all 12 weeks of this course, I mean, I'm contacting you by email at least once a week. You're inside of our private social group, so that you can communicate, not only me, but the other people that are in there as well, other adjusters and other people training, a part of the same training that you're in. And just to make it just to limit the fear going into it as much as possible, and constant communication, man, that was my biggest thing, because because all I could do is just imagine that every single person that goes through that training is dumb like me and just needs that constant reminder. This is what you need to do today. This is what we're focusing on this week. We need to get this accomplished first. Once that's accomplished, we can move on to this. Here's why we're doing that. And once we get that done, it's going to shape up what we're going to do in week 3. So it's that constant thing, for something that is online based, and it's meant for the person that doesn't have time to travel out, and for something that is completely can be done from the comfort of your own home, or on the subway to work, or on the train. It is the most intense yet communicative, if that's a real word. I don't know.
Yes.
But it's definitely, at this point in my professional career, it's definitely the one thing that I'm most proud of right now. And I think it's awesome. The good thing about it, man, I think it's gonna change a lot of people's lives, like it did for me. So
very cool.
Pretty happy about it.
Awesome. So this training it's online, right?
Yep.
More or less. And then is it something that like has a hard start and then it goes for 90 days? And so once you're locked into the 90 days, that's it? Or is it like I can sign up anytime and start my 90 days? Like how's it work?
Sign up anytime. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was one thing we also toyed with for a little bit, because at first it was going to be like a cohort style, right, where we take in a class and then that's that. And then we come back to another class. But now it's kind of a plug and play, I guess you could say, where no matter when you decide to pull the trigger and start working towards becoming an independent adjuster, but particularly a field property adjuster, not just any adjuster. Field property is what I do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
When you're ready to pull the trigger on that, man, you get right in here, and we start within, I think it's like a 2-day start window. We give you 2 days to get your shit together, to clear off your calendar, and start getting ready to start making leaps and bounds towards your new business of independent adjusting.
Okay. So are you able to kind of like drill down a little bit on like the curriculum and like when an adjuster's, what they look like at the end of that 90 days, like what skills do they have in hand and what can they say, like construction, policy, all that kind of stuff?
You basically, yeah. So without, it's kind of doesn't really say much, but you're basically going to get to everything I know, except maybe like the nitpicky shit. You start, so you got 90 days, right? So chop it down to 3 months. So the first month is it's pretty easy, especially compared to the second month. So the first month, we're really just focusing on all the prerequisites, right? Kind of getting you set up, getting the business set up, getting your email set up, getting your business. We get you business cards. And really just kind of getting everything setting the foundation, right, to your independent adjusting business. During that first month, we start you off with your first 1 week is dedicated just to field property training. And it's our field property mastery course. So we got an entire week of that first month that's dedicated just for that. And it starts out slow. Our idea here was that we're expecting people to have sort of a, it's going to be a acclimation period. People are going to have to start to change things around on the calendar just to keep up with it, because it's the 90 days don't stop for, something that might be going on.
Sure.
We're following up. No
train
matter
keeps
what,
rolling.
The train keeps rolling. There's no pause button to this shit. We just keep going. So it starts off pretty easy. The second month is really when things start to heat up, because the second month is when we start to dig into scoping and estimating. So the first month we started off with XACTIMATE training. First month, we're getting you to the level of level 3 certification. I don't even know if I can legally say that with Xactware, but the first month we do XACTIMATE training, just getting you to that level where you are, like I said before, you're at that level 3 understanding. You understand how to use the software. You understand what Sketch is and the basic principles of that. You understand how to create different, files in XACTIMATE. You understand the software. So then once we go into month 2, that's when like I said, that's when things really heat up. We go into, at the beginning of that month, we do the small and medium losses. These are hours and hours of videos. There's a couple of them on our YouTube channel now where it's short ones, but we build estimates and we take hours, start to finish. Idea being, if you're sitting there and you're watching me do this, you should be able to have me on one screen and your own XACTIMATE on another screen, and you're following along with it. So you can actually get that muscle memory, if you will, of actually building the estimate. So that's just 1 week right there. During that same month, we dive into the construction training. We have a construction 101 and 102 course. And what was
let me pause you right there for a second, and just to kind of clarify for viewers. So the XACTIMATE level 1, 2, 3 certifications, those things test you on, or if you have one of those certifications, theoretically it demonstrates that you know where stuff is in XACTIMATE. Right. It doesn't teach you how to use XACTIMATE in the context of a claim. So there's no claims workflow. Right. It's like, where's the component pricing? How do you, change the angle on a wall, right? So it's like, it's the nuts and bolts of XACTIMATE. It's not enough, so I think this, the reason I paused you there is because I don't think it's enough it isn't enough for people just to say, well, I just got a level 2 certification, I'm good to go on XACTIMATE. You're not really. You got to know how to use XACTIMATE in the context of a claim, because when you get on a CAT site where you start getting assignments and you don't know where to put anything, but how to reset your Windows or whatever, that's not going to really help you once it crashes. So
100%,
anyway.
100%. And that's that's a common misconception that people have, but it's not so much a fault of anybody's, because that is the way it seems that way from an outsider's perspective. Get level 3 certified. It's the highest certification level. What do you mean that I'm not going to be at the
I'm
same
only
level?
halfway there.
Right. So we tackle that. We go after that.
Yes,
It
awesome.
starts off at the small and medium, and by the end of that, or I'm not sure if it's by the end of that first month or the beginning of by the end of that second month or the beginning of it is at the end of second month, we do large loss training, which, that
Nice.
is, I'll tell you right now, my personal opinion, I'm not going to bullshit you on it. The large loss training is the best training that you could possibly get as far as learning, as far as overcoming any intimidation that you might have walking into a large loss. And I'm talking burnt down house and navigating your way around that, to be able to visually look at what that looks like and then transcribe it into XACTIMATE and come up with a couple $100,000 estimate. It's the best thing that's out there. That being said, not going to bullshit you, it gets boring. I tried so hard to make it interesting, but man, when you're on camera for 2 hours just talking about sealing a stud wall, it's
well, and listen, I want we should let people know that, you're kind of uniquely qualified to train that kind of content, because, as far as I know, you do a lot of daily, like locally in New Jersey, right?
Oh yeah.
You're a daily property guy, and for daily claims, a lot of them are large loss. I mean, vast majority, probably water claims. You're getting a lot of fire claims, you're getting vandalism, et cetera, all kinds of claims, but a lot of large losses, because that's the kind of things that people, unlike CAT deployments where it's a bunch of hail claims, anything can happen on daily, literally anything. So I'm saying that because you've been doing it for a while, and I don't know that you've done, like, you're a huge CAT guy necessarily, but I know that you're like, you've done a lot of large loss.
Right. Yeah. I look at cats as I've done catastrophes, I'm a little bit of a cat guy. I've gone out, I hit the road, man. I slept in my truck once, but
Spend a few weeks in like Omaha, Nebraska. And
no, I haven't done that. No, I just gone to Florida, man. Come on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
big cats, not like the run of the mill.
No, I like to pick and choose where I go. That's it. No, and that is on it. I act like I'm bullshitting, but that is part of it. I've only been to a couple states really to do outside of my immediate area, and that's Texas one time, or Texas 2 times, one for hail, one for Harvey, and
Harvey was
Florida. Yeah, Harvey was huge. Yeah, Harvey gave me a distaste for Texas. I didn't even want to go back after going there, because I was doing flood claims in South Texas,
Houston, Galveston,
and then I worked in Houston too at that time. The room that I was at, the Airbnb that I rented out for a ridiculous amount. I think I booked for the month, and the month was like $5,000. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, and the first floor of the apartment building, I was on the second floor. The first floor, they got like 8 feet of water going through there. Yeah, so like we had mold. We had mold spores coming out through the vents, and there were I got there a few days after the storm, and so there were cars that were all scattered all over the place because they got moved from the flood, and people are spreading all their stuff out on the grass, and I'm like, great, here we are. This is it. Cat time, baby. But,
yeah.
But anyway, no, you're right. I'm mostly a daily guy. That's how that's really how I started, just doing daily claims, and I managed to build up a very good network of clients of IA companies where I lived, because I got started during Sandy. That's when I first started doing property claims, was when Sandy hit. So I had one company, started off with one company. You know, I was with Worley at the time. I was on their roster. They had given me a deployment once before. So then when Sandy hit, I hit Worley up, but I didn't feel confident in what they were saying to me. So I started calling some other companies, and I got lucky, and one company started giving me claims. And I started to get worried then, because now that I'm running claims, you know, we go by a few weeks and you're feeling great. You're like, man, I'm closing out like 4 of these suckers a day for like $300. This is nuts. And then I start reading about how, you know, people go months without, you know, getting work, and how hard it is to find daily work because there's so many other daily adjusters and all these things. And I'm like, shit,
in Dallas,
you need to tell me. Well, you read up, you'll find somebody struggling anywhere and
just
trying to justify it, you know? So I'm reading up on that, and I'm like, man, you know, I had a kid that was on the way. I had a daughter that was on the way. And I'm just thinking, like, I've got everything riding on this. And based on what I'm reading, this thing's should be at the end of its rope pretty soon here. I have to find more people to work with, whether it's handling these Sandy claims or handling something. I got to do something here, because eventually this client's going to run dry and I'm going to be out on my ass. So, you know, I lived with that paranoia for like 6 to 8 months. I probably lived with that paranoia for like a year, the first entire year that I did this. And it was just constant. Who else needs help? Who else has claims? Who else has claims? Constantly, until I found myself at a point a year into it. I'm doing claims for like 8 different companies. And I've got, you know, my schedule's completely packed out, no end in sight. And I'm like, I think I could start saying no by now, and I think I'm gonna be all right. But
you were getting after it. So kind of circle back, you know, so a big component of month 2 is total loss.
Yeah, let's go back to it before I go on another rant. So yeah, we do second month, we're hitting large loss. We're learning that. By the time we get to the large loss, we already had the construction 101 and 102 training, which, you know, I spent a lot of time putting that together, because you could put it together a crazy in-depth construction course if you really wanted to, and really break everything down. How, you know, how to build a house from the ground up. But we don't really need to know that entirely as a field adjuster. So, and that's why this is a 101 and 102 course. Maybe one day down the line, we'll go balls to the wall and we'll put together everything you need to possibly know. Maybe that day will come. But for now, we're going to tell you what you need to know to get by and to put together an accurate estimate. That's the basic material identification, how to tell the difference between a laminate floor and a hardwood floor, which shockingly, some people are doing this and they don't understand what that is. They're writing up engineered wood flooring when it's, you know, flimsy ass laminate, Pergo, whatever. How to properly identify materials and basic repair methods, what it actually takes to repair. Which, again, what's interesting is that this is not like a requirement in this industry. It's like if you're in property and you know how to repair things, that's like a bonus. It's like, it's crazy to me. So, and it drives me nuts when occasionally I would get rejections from file reviewers and I have to explain how to actually process it, but how the actual repair process is. And we get that with public adjusters too. The public adjuster, not so much contractors. Usually they know the deal, but sometimes a public adjuster might try to pull the try to trick you and say how, try to break something down for you. And all you got to do is just ask them if they've actually ever repaired it before, and know how to make a certain repair. And they'll say, no, not really. But it's that basic. Yeah. So it's that basic understanding of how to do these things. So, I mean, that's and that's those three things, the small and medium loss training, the large loss training, and the construction training. Those are three big parts of the second month, but they're not the only thing that we focus on in that month. And then towards the end of that second month, we get you ready for month 3, which starts off with license training. So we pay, if you're part of this 90-day accelerator program, we pay to get you trained. We don't do the license training ourselves, because there's other resources out there that are better. That's all they focus on. It's just making sure that the license training is there. We're not there, and I don't know if we'll ever be there. It's, to me personally, that's not on my radar That's
a lot of work. That's a whole other business.
It's a whole lot of work. So I would rather pay money out of our pockets to get you the best training that's out there. And in the last couple of weeks of this whole thing, we moved to arguably the most important part, which is just sales and marketing. You start getting your resume in order. I put you through all the sales and marketing strategies that have helped me get ahead. And at the very, very last week, the last week is the hustling week. And that is when I get with you every single day, and you get a list of companies to begin marketing yourself to. And the goal there is that by the end of that week, there's at least 300-400 companies have your information. You're on their radar, and then we send you off. That is all we could do at that point. Brings you through the entire process there. And you have all the resources we could possibly give to you right at your fingertips, including being a part of that inner circle private group. Man, that's it. It's the best thing I could possibly imagine to do to get somebody trained and at a short and realistically a really freaking short amount of time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if somebody tried to DIY, cobble together all that stuff themselves and go over here for this thing, over there for that thing, I mean, they could spend a year doing it, trying to track down the right thing and waiting for but if you have it all curated together in a, like you said, in a tons and tons of communication, you're holding their hand, as much or probably as little as they need. And you're saying, next step is this, next step is this. And it's like, one thing right after the other into like here's your time frame. I mean, that by itself, pulling all those things together is, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold, if you ask me, for sure. And, and I would say, just to kind of touch on one little thing that you mentioned earlier, that again, I don't think people really understand. Similar to XACTIMATE, right? You can get a level 2 or level 3 certification, but you're not going to know how to run a claim.
Right.
Same thing goes for construction, right? So, you can learn, you can get on YouTube and look at new home construction or renos or whatever it is and get some sort of fundamental construction knowledge, but you're not going to know the repair process for that baseboard and that insulation and that drywall and what you got to do to the carpet and whatever, right? You need to know those restoration processes, and it's absolutely critical. You're absolutely right. It's the biggest glaring hole in our industry. So bravo for putting that together before I did. Well, congratulations. And I'm going to point people to you for that, because, that's something that nobody else does. They can sit there and say, oh, we got the ILX, construction training. It's like, this is a stud. here is a window. Here's this type of, it's not how to fix it, right? What's the guy going to do when he comes out to replace that siding, or that one side of siding, or that window wrap, or the water spot on the ceiling, right? It's basic stuff that we do all day, every single day, right? So that's awesome.
The important thing too is getting training from somebody that's actually out there doing it, because you can find yourself, you may be the type, and I hope if, people listening to this, they want to be a field property adjuster, they want to do everything they possibly could to educate themselves, to be more intelligent, so that they can present that while they're out in the field. But if you've never done it before, and especially have never done several claims before, you may not really know what you should learn. For instance, how much time should you spend learning about how to analyze a air handler's failure? Don't spend any time doing that. I have a training company, not a single adjusting company I've ever worked with that trusts me to look at an air handler. None of them. And I'm glad they did.
Right.
I don't know anything. No.
Hey, you say to the insured, hey, listen, this thing's not working. Get the tech out here to look at it and then get his report.
That's it. Yeah. There's certain things that the insurance carriers, the independent adjusting companies, are going to rely on me to explain to them. And that's what we go over. We're not going to go too technical, so technical that you'll be lucky if you ever need to utilize the knowledge. And we're not going to teach you about stuff that you're not going to actually need to know while you're out there at some point in the near future. Sure. We got 90 days. We got 90 days to get you up to snuff, so that when you're on the phone or meeting with an independent adjusting company, that you're not going to look, that the green isn't going to be oozing out of your ears, that you know what you're talking about. You know how to use XACTIMATE. You know how to put together large loss estimates. You know how to identify certain materials, and you know how to repair those same materials. And you're in front of that IA company because you've been marketing yourself to hundreds and hundreds of companies for the past handful of months, and you're already rolling with it. So it's exciting, man. I'm excited about it.
These days, there are a growing number of remote work opportunities for independent adjusters. With scoper writer programs popping up all over the place, you can do photo and scope in the field, or you can just sit at home in your PJs and write the estimates on what the scoper got when they were out in the field. And it doesn't matter where you live, as long as you have the internet, you can write claims as a desk adjuster. But you can't get that sweet gig without being licensed. So if you live in Nebraska, which doesn't require an adjuster to be licensed, you still have to have a New York license to write claims somebody scoped in New York. Make sense? Of all the credentials you need as an adjuster, there really is none more important than your adjuster license, especially your first one. You're going to need it to do just about everything else, including some adjuster schools even require you to have one before they'll let you enroll. So you need AdjusterPro. AdjusterPro provides a comprehensive and easy to use way to get and maintain your adjuster licenses. Most importantly, AdjusterPro was founded by independent adjusters, and the team at AdjusterPro is dedicated to helping you thrive as an adjuster with resources for every licensing state, including dead simple CE packages. AdjusterPro is the gold standard for adjuster licensing. You'll find everything you need to get licensed in one place. Go to AdjusterTV.com/AdjusterPro right now.
It's very cool. It's very cool. And I think that, people, I just cannot leave it alone. When you have that knowing how to use XACTIMATE in the context of a claim makes you fast, right? Knowing how to do at a glance, look at that and say, this is how I'm going to repair it. You write your estimate in a minute, right? For a lot of things, right? You can move through an estimate pretty quickly. You can talk to the homeowner intelligently, right? You can say, well, this is what's going to happen. This is what the guy's going to do. Here's how I'm going to write the estimate. If you find anything else, call me, let me know. When you're talking to the contractor or the PA, they can't get one over on you because you know what the repair is or the replace or whatever it is for that particular process. And then, I mean, honestly, putting all this stuff together, exposing them to large loss, having them, spending all that time with them on XACTIMATE and learning how to, maybe, I don't know if they need to even pass it to take the test for the certification for XACTIMATE, but they should know all that. So they should know how to do it, at least to pass it. Right.
Right.
That's this kind of training. We were talking earlier, this is the kind of thing that Chris and I were talking about. And we're like, that sounds like too much work.
Well, you're not
Jeremy
wrong there,
did.
man.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
It's taken me 6 years to get there. Granted, I could have got this put together soon.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is that like you needed to spend that time, just like us, me and Chris, and anybody who's an influencer or runs a little company like this. You needed to spend that time. You know what you know, and you know how you run claims. But the firms, they have needs, right? They have things that they want to get out in front of adjusters and the skills and licenses and whatever that they want them to have. And then your audience, I mean, the people that are watching, they have, places where they need to put everything together. And so you spent that time learning your audience so that you can put together something that's really going to transform them, provide, take them from being a babe in the woods to, hiking up their rucksack and heading up the mountain, right? With confidence.
Right.
And that's, like I said, I think it's absolutely valuable. And, there are a lot of training resources out there, but I can't think of one that puts everything together on the property side like that. I think Chris's iPath, his mentorship programs, similar kind of in a way. He does those live. Program. They do, man.
Yeah.
He crushes it with that. And the firms, they're all over it.
Yeah.
They love his graduates. So,
bravo,
man. Great job.
Chris has really nailed it. He's done so well. I think we came up about the same time, and he has his mentorship program. And I can't tell you how many times I came across somebody that said that that they want to get into property, but they got started with Chris, specifically with Chris going through IA path and how great it was. Because there's training companies out there, man. They, being on our side of this little niche, I'm sure you've catch wind about who's the good ones and who's the good trainers and who are not. And Chris is one of those good ones, man. He's a great place to start with.
He really is. And he is dedicated. I mean, he's doing live classes like almost every night, or at least his people on his team are. I mean, I think he's probably taken half a step back, but that's a talk about a train that's like, building up steam and moving full speed ahead for sure. Yeah. So I'm excited about it, man. And I think, the adjuster score, that we've been talking about, that we just recently launched, it sounds to me like everything that you cover in your training is going to help somebody do well on their adjuster score, their property exam. I'm, we'll absolutely 100%, kind of count that as a resource for, people who are looking for construction, for material ID, for XACTIMATE training, for, we're not going to have a whole lot of large law stuff on our exam because it's really kind of like at least at this point on the property exam, we want to just kind of get a gauge of what people know. But it sounds like, it sounds like it'll be perfect for it. Perfect prep for most of it, at least. Is there like a major policy component to your training?
That is no. That is the one thing we don't get in during those 90 days. Right. Kind of leaving that towards. Well, that'll be my piece. All right, sounds good. Hey, if you want to put that together, man. At this point for the 90 days, I don't know what else we would have to take things out for a policy portion in there, and then I was kind of expecting the little bit of policy is going to be built into the licensing that they have to go through. Sure. But you're right. It's not, since this is for field property, it's not so much on, the license training is like 5-10% actual homeowners and,
right.
Policy.
That's true.
Well, so
I've got, I'm putting together, I was already putting something together just for my AdjusterTV Plus viewers. I'm going to be releasing, like a coverage analysis, instruction video, and then like parts of the policy, policy, you know, in the context of a claim, different types of policy, that kind of, some of the lingo and stuff. And just be a little short, you know, 4 or 5, maybe half a dozen, you know, short videos. I know I say short, probably 20 to 40 minute long each, because there's going to be some, there's a lot to cover in the policy, but it's something that people, you know, at least at the minimum, that sort of policy analysis piece where they're looking at the special limits, they're looking at, you know, the things that are covered here, but then seem to be not covered down here, tree debris, you know, debris removal, you know, those kinds of things are things that trip people up, and they're super common. I mean, tree on fence, that's you're hitting the policy like 2 or 3 different places right there with just a tree on fence claim.
Right.
So,
and that would be good. You know, the one thing a lot of people ask me about, man, and what that would really be great to be built into is some sort of a desk adjuster training, something like that. You know, where you need to know your policy. Field property guys, we could get away with murder not knowing the policy because somebody else is going to make sure. But I say that to say this.
That's true. Especially cat.
Especially cat. Yeah, this is policy. What's a policy? But
hail's covered
on the daily. on the daily side, you ought to know more, and it's a shame that most people that I've come across, well over, and this is my opinion, well over 50% of the adjusters that are out there, the independents that are out there that are doing field, don't know really much about the policy. There's just no commonalities in the policy. They've built up their own. So this is kind of what I figured. They've built up their own policy in their head. It's the HO me policy. And it's always the same, no matter what, until somebody rejects the file and tells you to change it. And when you do that, you run the obvious risk of working for free, because you've drawn up an entire estimate for some, you know, say wind-driven rain getting inside of a house, and then you didn't know that this policy requires a storm-created opening. Well, you just wrote up a $40,000, $50,000 estimate for nothing, and they tell you to back it out, and you want to say, well, you still got to pay me for it, but you should know better. And I've been that guy. So
and that's a great example too, because that's something that AAA might not cover, but Allstate does, right? And it may be structure, maybe contents, you know, whatever. Like, I know there was a carrier that wouldn't pay for interior damage unless there was an opening created by the storm, just for structurally, like drywall, like spot on the ceiling. But then other companies, they'll pay for both that and the piano, you know, that got water dripped all over it.
Coverage. Right? Yeah, your coverage.
People get, at the minimum, they just have to know that they got to look in the policy and double check.
Right.
Double check. Right.
And that's what gives, the independents, man, a bad rap. You know, when I did desk
sloppiness,
dude, I couldn't stand it when I did, I was doing desk claims for a minute, and I was sending out IA companies. I was sending out to IA firms to get claims handled. And man, I couldn't freaking stand some of the garbage that was coming back. And it pissed me off because, listen, I'm not team insurance whatsoever, right? I don't write checks out of my own checkbook, give them as much money. But you know what pissed me off is when IA companies got paid for bullshit. And that happened more often than anything else. We'd have a adjuster go out there. I think I had an adjuster go out, right? And this just happened to be the case. I sent a claim out. It was in New York State, right? And the field adjuster hit me up. He sent me an email. We exchanged a couple of emails. Everything's all good. And and I had 2 claims. I sent one claim out, right? He got it. Then I had another claim in that same area. So I decided I'm going to be a solid dude here, because I like when this happens to me. I'm going to send this out to the same company, but I'm going to request that this guy handle it, right? Because I've had that happen, and you look like top dog when that happens. You got the desk adjuster feeding somebody specifically claims, like that puts you, that's sales right there.
First call list.
And that was right. This guy knows his shit. Well, ends up this guy doesn't know his shit. This guy was not very good at all. He ended up writing up a $120,000 estimate. I think it was $125,000. I can't remember what it was for, but it was the freaking denial. I can't remember the specifics on it, but I looked. I think it was like a groundwater.
Did he commit to that?
claim.
Did he like say, "Yeah, we're going to give you this"?
Oh no, I don't think. No, I didn't come across that problem. That would have been it. But it was like $100,000, and so I see that coming through on the desk side. I'm like, son of a bitch, man. Now I got to get other people involved in this. I got to send this up to large loss and whatever process I had to follow. But then I start looking through the report, which is terrible photographs. The written report was, could have been written by anybody off the street, and I'm trying to freaking piece this whole thing together. And it was, I think it was like a groundwater claim, or like it was clearly groundwater. Right. And so $125,000 estimate, and whatever the actual IA bill, because, we got to process that too, had to pay out this company, whatever it was, $1,000 for this garbage.
They paid it? They paid the fee bill?
I think they did.
Jeez.
I remember.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure they did, because I would remember I would have had personally a better ending to the story if they didn't pay it. But I remember complaining. About that shit. Like, we should not pay this. This is garbage. And yeah, I think my manager, because he said this more than a few times, said, "Man, just pay it and move on." And I'm like, dude, I'm getting back on the other side, man, and I'm working these claims because this is outrageous. But that's the general, for me. This is my opinion. Again, I feel like that is closer to the norm than it isn't, at least on the daily side.
I think so.
It's adjusters that don't wholly understand construction processes. It's adjusters that aren't good at documentation and any degree, written documentation, photographs, any sort of documentation. You just don't know. They just don't know how to do it properly. Don't know how to put, your feet in the shoes of the person who has to review that garbage. And it's just writing up crap estimates and not understanding policy. How did you get here? And it's because of that has to have an impact on the reputation of claims adjusters throughout the industry, because how many times
absolutely does.
How many times will you get an adjuster out there? So this guy wrote up $125 on nothing, but how many times does somebody write nothing when it should be $125? And that makes its way to a file reviewer who also doesn't know shit. That's going off a cheat sheet, and this one's not going to resolve anything. So then they kick it up to a desk adjuster who's getting paid $75K a year with 100 claims on their back right now. Ooh, and this one looks this one looks easy enough to just rubber stamp and move on. Now you got a policyholder that's pissed because the insurance company's lowballing them. But it's really not the insurance company lowballing. It's just a bunch of morons that don't know anything.
Right. And it's a snowball of pain and suffering caused by just inconsistent training and like quality. That's So
let's get an engineer out there.
Right. So this is the reason why guys like you and guys like me and guys like Chris Stanley started our little, adjuster training things. It's for this reason, because I started mine because I saw this as a problem. I know Chris, same deal. There's a lot of people out there. It's a great career, right? And if you do it, if you do well at it, you can do well at it, right?
Right.
But we need people that are going to be calibrated to know the things that they really need to know how to do and do them well, and kind of forget about everything else. So in the last few seconds we have here, tell us where we can find the accelerator program.
Well, you got to go to adjuster-university.com/get started. adjusteruniversity.com/get started. That's the first step you're going to need to go, is to go to that website. You put your information in there, and we'll tell you where to go. So go to adjuster-university.com/get started. That's step one. We'll take you through every step that's after that.
Awesome. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I always love talking to you, man. And I really wanted to, I got another call in like 2 minutes, but I really wanted, there's some other stuff I really wanted to get to. So I don't know if
we got to do it again, man. We got to run it
for
back.
Sure. And I want to get on your show if you'll have me. I mean, I'm just asking.
Listen, hey man, I'll have you. I'll definitely have you. You know, you got this high level YouTube channel that's sopping up all your time, man. You know, I just want a little bit. I think you're going to
get a little bit from this for sure. So awesome, dude.
Right, brother.
Love you, man. Have a good weekend, too, and we'll catch up with you later. See ya.
All right, man. See you soon.
This is AdjusterTV.